So make we go another article here, ladies and gentlemen. No bid, danger, rises, eyebrows over high numbers of single source and emergency contracts awarded by public body. So more big up the Integrity Commission, you know, because we've been away from this conference here from them, you know, to hear, you know, what they are looking at and how them perceive it based off of them investigation. You see me? And this is what the government really want. But let's look at this, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take a look at this.
News July 15th, 2020. 70% of the more than 34,000 contracts entered into by Jamaican public bodies during the last financial year, with a combined value of $370 billion, were awarded using either the single source or emergency procurement methods, the Integrity Commission, IC, has disclosed. The IC is the country's principal anti-corruption body and is also tasked with monitoring the award of contracts by government-owned entities. The single-source procurement method allows entities to request a bid directly from a specific supplier, while the emergency method allows them to rapidly procure goods, works, or services in response to sudden or unforeseen events. All 198 public bodies are required to report to the IC all contracts valued at $500,000 or more. The Commission confirmed that they achieved a 100% compliance rate for the 2025 to 2026 financial year. The IC's database shows that 34,398 contracts, with a combined value of $370.68 billion, were awarded by public bodies during the last financial year, Kevin Stevenson, the Commission's Director of Investigations, revealed during a rare press conference on Tuesday. According to Stevenson, goods accounted for 52% of that expenditure, while services and works represented 26% and 22%, respectively. He further noted that the final quarter of the 2025 to 2026 financial year accounted for 36% of the year's total expenditure, before cautioning that the procurement methods underlying these figures warrant particular attention. Single-source and emergency contracting combined accounted for 70.5% of all contracts awarded during the period, representing more than 7 in every 10, he told journalists. Stevenson also disclosed that restrictive bidding accounted for 25% of contracts by number, but represented 31% of their total value. The largest value share of any method, he said. Accordingly, our monitoring of these methods remains a priority. Stevenson also revealed that public bodies reported $3.4 billion in cost overruns, variations, and other price adjustments for contracts entered into during the last financial year. The IC's data capture only instances where cost overruns, variations, or price adjustments amount to at least $500,000 on a contract. The Director of Investigations said public bodies reported contracts with a combined value of approximately $393 billion during the financial year. He noted that there was a 91% response rate from public entities asked to provide the IC with details of contracts they had awarded. This was lower than the 100% response rate recorded the previous year. Stevenson said the data showed $713 million in cost overruns, $1.78 billion in variations, and $950 million in other price adjustments. Measured against the $393 billion in contracts reported, the $3.4 billion in overruns, variations, and price adjustments represent approximately 0.9% of that contract value, he noted, describing the figure as modest when compared with international standards.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we have a problem. We have some problems, right? More women up on the line there. But let me hear something in the background that's very low. So it says that 91%, there was a 91, he noted that there was a 91% response rate from public entities asked to provide the IC with details of contracts they had awarded. This was lower than the 100% response rate recorded the previous years. So what I'm getting from this is that public entities asked to provide the IC with information on contracts, details on contracts. 9% of them is not complying. I wonder why. Could it be that the government is, undermining the authority of the Integrity Commission, like when April Wilmington said they are not credible? Could it be that that is the reason why this is happening? 70% of more than 34,000 contracts entered into the Jamaica public bodies during the last financial year with a combined value of 370 billion were awarded using either the single source or emergency procurement method. The Integrity Commission has disclosed 70% Jamaica. That means that them don't go through the normal procedure. This is where criminality, nepotism, cronyism, and straight corruption can feed, with a 70% of the contracts being either single source or emergency procurement methods. This is where that happens now, ladies and gentlemen. It goes on to say that the single source procurement methods allow entities to request a bid directly from a specific supplier, while the emergency method allows them to rapidly procure goods, works, or services in response to sudden or unforeseen events. All 198 public bodies are required to report to IC all contracts valued at 500,000 or more. The IC's database showed that 34,300 34,398 contracts with a combined value of 370.68 billion were awarded by public bodies during the last financial year. That's a lot of money. The Commission Director of Investigation revealed during a rare press conference on Tuesday, according to Stevens, goods accounted for 52% of that expenditure, while services and works represented 26% and 22% respectively. All right, so I guess that covers the 100%. He further noted that the final quarter of 2025-2026 financial year accounted for 36% of the year's total expenditure, before cautioning that the procurement methods underlying these figures warrant particular attention. Single source and emergency contracting combined accounted for 70.5% of all contracts awarded during the period, representing more than 7 in 10, he told journalists. Stevens also disclosed that restrictive bidding accounted for 25% of contract by number, but represented 31% of their total value. The largest value shared on any method, he said. Accordingly, our monitoring of these methods remain a priority. Stevens also revealed that public bodies reported 3.4 billion in cost overruns. 3.4 billion in cost overruns, variations, and other price adjustments for contracting entering into during the last financial year. The IC data capture only instances where cost overruns, variations, or price adjustments amounts to at least 500,000 on a contract. The director of investigation said public bodies reported contracts within a combined value of approximately 393 billion. Boy, I'm sure we're going to hear more from the Integrity Commission, ladies and gentlemen, because this is not something to scoff at. You understand? It truly isn't. Government reviewing JPS blackout on island-wide. I'm more interested in in the bus investigation, the school buses. KSMC collects 3.96 million in signage fees following compliance drive. Let me hear this. Cause you know KSMC, you know what's going on. Me a swimming and a ramp with them, you know.
eGleaner classifieds mobile apps. Sign in, subscribe now. Latest news. Deputy Mayor of Kingston Lorraine Dobson says the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation, Ksamc, continues to see improved compliance from businesses and increased revenue from signs and billboards across the corporate area following an ongoing public education and outreach campaign. Speaking at the Ksamc's monthly meeting on Tuesday, Dobson said the corporation's compliance unit has been taking its services directly to businesses through outreach activities at plazas and commercial centers across the municipality. She said the initiative is aimed at helping business operators understand the requirements for signage approval, regularize existing signs, submit applications, and settle outstanding signage fees. Dobson said compliance teams have so far engaged 140 businesses across 8 commercial locations. The response has been extremely positive, she said, noting that compliance among the businesses visited increased from 9% before the outreach visits to 53% following the intervention. Dobson added that the initiative has also boosted the corporation's revenue collection, with approximately $3.96 million collected in signage fees following the compliance drive. She said the results demonstrate the effectiveness of combining public education, direct engagement, and enforcement to improve compliance. The deputy mayor commended the business operators who have responded positively by working with the corporation and taking the necessary steps to regularize their signage. Dobson said the Ksamc will continue the outreach program across Kingston and St. Andrew as part of its commitment to making the compliance process more accessible while encouraging all businesses with publicly visible signs to comply with the relevant regulations.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I know so the KSMC is running more efficiently under Mayor Swede. Yes? Yeah, man, the money them have to collect Jamaica. You never know. And the deputy mayor, all they get them a chat for deputy mayor this, deputy mayor that. And Ray. Them sorry say, do you guys remember how much of a problem this was? When them get the KSMC, because so much money run through the KSMC. So you know it go, you know the skullduggery go, you know the corruption go. Man can siphon off some money here and siphon off some money there. You understand? So it is a problem for them when them say the thing are on the right way. Now the editorial say fast track IC cases. Because we're on the IC right now. No? It's very important. You can read that article here. Hear what they must say about the fast tracking of the IC. More to me as we continue to do the good work here, General. That is it.
It may not be possible or practical to establish a special public law division of Jamaica's Supreme Court at this time. Given the court's current workload and the continuing backlog of cases, we are likely to be told that there are simply too few judges for that to happen. If that is indeed the case, Chief Justice Brian Sykes should consider asking the government to increase the number of judges to meet the needs of all areas of the judicial system. In the meantime, the Chief Justice should mandate that all judicial review cases, particularly those dealing with allegations of corruption, whether at the stage of the initial application or the substantive claim, be treated with urgency. The speed with which Justice Tara Carr last month heard and dismissed the Firearms Licensing Authority's, FLA's, application against the Integrity Commission's, ICE's, handling of an investigation into the authority, and the information to which the FLA was entitled before the report was tabled in Parliament, is indicative of what should become the court's benchmark. That matter was disposed of in fewer than 3 months. Happily, the FLA did not appeal. The IC is the anti-corruption agency to which parliamentarians, public servants earning more than 12 million Jamaican dollars annually, and other specified officials must submit annual income, asset and liability declarations, to ensure that their wealth is consistent with their known and lawful sources of income. On a separate but related matter, the IC should, as the Gleaner's editorial board has previously suggested, collate and present, in a special report to Parliament, all recommendations contained in the investigative reports it has completed since its establishment in 2017. These should include recommendations for operational changes in government ministries, departments, and agencies, criminal charges, or sanctions against public officials. Investigations inherited from predecessor entities, including the Office of the Contractor General, should also be included. Questions about the speed with which the courts hear and dispose of corruption-related judicial review applications have gained renewed relevance because of recent comments by the IC's chairman, retired Judge Carol Lawrence Beswick. She suggested that public officials under investigation by her agency appeared intent on using the judicial system to frustrate the IC's work. In the Commission's annual report to Parliament last week, covering her first full year as chairman, Justice Lawrence Beswick noted a raft of legal actions in 2025 to 26 against the organization and members of its leadership team. The Commission respects the constitutional right of every individual to approach the courts and is committed to honoring all judicial processes and determinations, she wrote. Nonetheless, it is important to recognize the implications of this emerging trend. There is a legitimate concern that the increasing resort to litigation against the Commission and its officers in the execution of their lawful duties may, whether intentionally or otherwise, impede the timely discharge of the Commission's responsibilities.
And ladies and gentlemen, again, that is a very legitimate concern. And I'm telling you, Andrew Onus is the one that set the trend. We are going after the IC's concern. He's the leader of the Jamaican Labour Party. He's the Prime Minister of the country. And since his statutory declaration has not been certified, there has been an all-out attack on the IC. An all-out attack on the IC. And they are doing their job legally. They didn't illegally come by the conclusions about Andrew Onus and the recommendations that they have. They have genuine concern based on the facts that were presented. And now they want to say that, the Integrity Commission is PMP and all this nonsense. You understand? And of course, the former chairman rubbish that in Parliament, with simple logic. 60 to 70% of the Jamaican people don't even vote. That means that they don't have any confidence in either government. They have a choice. And we're talking about the ones that have a choice to vote. We're not talking about those that can't vote. We're talking about people on the voters list. 60 to 70% of them do not vote. Right? So they are neither JLP nor PMP. Them see the government, them as criminals. You understand? And con men. That's what they see them as. They don't trust politicians. So now, how can you say based off that pool number, right, that everybody in the Integrity Commission is a PMP? Rubbish. You understand? And this is what they continue to put out there. So now, you see everyone come out talking about the IC is not credible, and if it came from anybody else but them, they would believe it. When every single thing in the Integrity Commission reports are matters of facts. The Integrity Commission cannot, and I repeat, under the law, under the legislation, they cannot put anything in the report that is not fact. They don't have the authority to do so. No authority whatsoever. They cannot operate illegally, ladies and gentlemen. Alright? So we see what is happening and we understand. Let's continue. But what they're saying, one of the things that they said here, I thought was super important, is every recommendation that the IC had made from 2017 till now, they should compile that and make it public. Because if those recommendations are actually adhered to and implemented and applied by the government, then we could see the reduction of corruption in the country in all the ministries of government. You get me? People won't be able to steal. People won't be able to give them girlfriend $85 million in a contract. by them influence because of them girlfriend. You understand? Them type of nastiness that we are going. Alright, let's continue.
Responsibilities. While acknowledging the court's role in safeguarding the rule of law and ensuring that public bodies operate within their legal authority, Justice Lawrence Beswick also argued that it was equally important that the IC not be frustrated, delayed, or undermined by actions designed solely to discourage robust investigations or to inhibit the Commission from carrying out the responsibilities entrusted to it. The Commission will continue to pursue its mandate fairly, independently, and without fear or favor, guided at all times by the law, the principles of justice, and an unwavering commitment to integrity, transparency, and accountability in public life, she said. In May, Justice Lawrence Beswick issued a similar warning during an address to a conference of Caribbean anti-corruption officials in Kingston. She cautioned that, even if the flurry of litigation were to stymie our efforts, we shall not be thwarted. In recent weeks, Minister without portfolio in the Office of the Prime Minister with responsibility for science, technology, and special projects, Andrew Wheatley, who the IC said it intended to charge with illicit enrichment, has gone to court seeking to overturn the findings of an investigation into his finances. Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness has a similar judicial review case pending against the IC, although, in his case, the Commission did not propose charges. Instead, it requested that the Financial Investigations Division, an agency of the Ministry of Finance, conduct further investigations into the Prime Minister's wealth. Other agencies were also asked to consider taking action. Beyond these high-profile matters, a number of ministries and agencies have gone to court either to prevent the IC from obtaining documents or to restrict its investigations. As Justice Lawrence Beswick noted, subjects of the Commission's investigations have a constitutional right to challenge actions they believe do not comply with the law. However, that should not mean that such cases lapse into a state of suspended animation or legal purgatory. Corruption matters demand urgent attention, lest they become a cancerous affliction on society. Moreover, when they remain unresolved and public trust is eroded, the state's capacity to act is diminished. That is why Chief Justice Sykes should insist that the judiciary moves expeditiously on these cases. In part, the same principle underlies the Gleaner's call for the IC to revisit and report on the recommendations contained in its previous investigative reports.
So I agree with this. The IC has a lot of work and it needs to be dealt with expeditiously. You understand? So it would be great if there's an arm of the judicial of the courts that dealt with these cases specifically, so that they are not delayed, because they are of utmost importance. When you have individuals that are trusted with all of our money, our tax dollars, and it is important that they operate without any corruption whatsoever. Because when they do operate with corruption, it sets back generations of our children that have not been born yet, and the ones that are already here. Corruption is the reason why the hospitals are the way they are. Corruption is the reason why the roads are the way they are. Corruption is the reason why the police force is operating in the way it is. It affects the education. Look at the cases look at Royal Reid case and the implications of that. Let's continue.
Welcome back to Primetime News.
And a special welcome once again to our viewers on TVJ International in the Cayman Islands and online at onespotmedia.com.
First up this evening, the Integrity Commission is providing greater clarity on its annual report that was tabled in Parliament.
At its first media briefing in years, the Commission addressed concerns about its lengthy investigations, high staff turnover, and the public perception of the Commission, among other issues.
Kalisha Williams was there.
For the first time in years, the media had an opportunity to drill members of the Integrity Commission at a press briefing. It follows the tabling of its annual report in Parliament. It also came on the heels of several controversial investigation reports that had the Commission facing the ire of parliamentarians. First up, concerns about the time at which it takes the Commission to complete its investigations.
Complex matters will take a longer time. But what we are trying to ensure is that the matters that do not need that time are completed as soon as possible. And the kind of ballpark that we're looking at, as my staff would know, is between 6 and 12 months, closer to 9 months.
However, the Commission said in order to reduce the investigation time, the staffing challenges will have to be addressed. Currently, the Investigations Division is only operating at 55% of its staffing capacity.
It is indeed a difficult psychological burden to come to work, and every day you have 11 or so matters to pursue. Some of these matters are extremely complex and voluminous, and so we have to ensure that we recruit the number of staff necessary, at least to fill our establishment, so that we can continue our work in this area.
The challenge, though, is that the Commission is already having a tough time retaining its staff, so recruitment may be difficult. But Executive Director Craig Beresford said compensation is the issue. He said the Commission has written to the Finance Ministry to revise their salary package, but so far it has not received a response.
We have found that especially our technical persons, they are at a lower level in terms of comparative than they were before. And step back and look at it. If someone is applying for a job within the Commission and they can go to any other public service at the same level, why would you want to work at the Commission when you have all that risk and the social media abuses to contend with?
Speaking of negative comments on social media, questions were also raised about how the Commission has been handling concerns about it being too intrusive and speculations about the agency attempting to harm the reputation of parliamentarians.
There's nothing that the Integrity Commission, none of the divisions, do with taking precise steps to harm any public official's reputation. That is not our business.
Next,
when you hear that, Jamaica, I see have to make it clear, say, there's no intention to harm anybody's reputation. The people them just do them work. You understand? So them politician boy and girl have to stop use the excuse they are trying to show the Integrity Commission under the bus. Pick up yourself, and them. You know, say we keep me in tune with the work go on. Sonia, the word is love. You understand? Yo, right now, Messi have to score a trick today, you know, because him have to me look for his score a trick, you know. Yeah, man, you know, win, man, in a real life. But anyway, I could play that back.
attempting to harm the reputation of parliamentarians.
There's nothing that the Integrity Commission, none of the divisions, do with taking precise steps to harm any public official's reputation. That is not our business.
Next issue, the Commission not having a protocol that states that when charges are to be laid, they are laid immediately or shortly after, an issue which has heightened public scrutiny. While not giving a timeline,
as it currently stands, there is no protocol, but I can say that steps are being taken to implement such protocol.
The Commission also said going forward, it is hoping to have a media briefing annually after its reports are tabled in Parliament. Kalisha Williams, TVJ News.
We got the Integrity Commission every time. You understand? Let me know what you guys think about that in the comment section, ladies and gentlemen. Do you support the Integrity Commission, or are you following this government's lead in attacking that very important agency? Let me know in the comment section.